Is it really worth it to leave California for Oklahoma? Well, on paper, probably, yeah, it's probably worth it. But we don't often hear what happens after people leave California for somewhere like Oklahoma. Does life really get better for those people? Or do they just trade one set of headaches for another? If you've caught yourself scrolling through different homes on Zillow or Redfin maybe, and you're like, man, these homes are really inexpensive in Oklahoma. Can I really uproot my life here in California or the West Coast so that I can move to Oklahoma and maybe have a little bit more money? If that's you, if you've asked yourself that question, then this video is probably one you want to watch. We're going to talk some real numbers, some trade-offs, and the one question I always ask my clients before they move here. By the end, you're going to know if Oklahoma is really worth it, and not just on paper, but as in, is this the perfect place for you to start the new chapter of your life? Let's start with the biggest question everyone always asks, and that's the cost. If you sell a $900,000 house in California, and even if you have half that amount of cash, like you can get a nice house, a brand new house even. Like you can get, and I've had this happen, someone moving from California to Oklahoma, they have cash enough to buy a $450,000 house, which is typically brand new if you're living somewhere like Blanchard or Newcastle or Newalla. So you get a $450,000 house, brand new, on a half acre or an acre. This is a really typical thing to find. And often these homes, like, they come with a 3-car garage. They may even come with a workshop, and they almost definitely have space for you to put a workshop if you would like one. And if you bought a $900,000 house, like that's our low end of our luxury homes. So these are some really nice houses. And from what I've seen in California, Arizona, like you can't get very much for $900,000. So what does a $500,000 house look like here? Well, it's usually between 2,000 and 2,400 square feet. It really depends on location, but that's kind of typical. Usually modern finishes, it can be brand new. It might be just a few years old, or it might be completely remodeled, or it could not be remodeled, just depending on where it is. Usually you're going to have a little bit of land, or at least a lot that's bigger than what you see in places like Orange County or San Diego or the Bay Area, because we just don't live as close to one another here, and we live in single family homes. And your annual property taxes on a $500,000 house are going to be between $4,000 and $6,000. Typically, it can change city to city, county to county, but that's what I see. I've heard that in most parts of California, that number is close to $10,000 or $15,000, depending on the value of your home. Home insurance, though, is high here. You might have expected that. You might have seen it on the news. People say it's because of weather. It's really not, but it is a thing here. We do have more expensive homeowners insurance, and you'll still probably have a lot more inexpensive of a lifestyle here than you would in California. So for homeowners insurance, I factor in at least a 1% premium for the year. Now, it can vary so wildly. So sometimes it can be double that. Sometimes it can be a little less than that. Like it really depends on what you purchase. So even after, like in your mortgage payment, even after you put those taxes and insurance in there on a $500,000 house, let's say you put 20% down, like you're looking at 30 to 40% lower overall in terms of cost of living for your residents. Okay, then there's utilities. And some people are really shocked at how inexpensive our utilities are. Typically, between $250 and $300 a month is common for gas and electricity. Now, if you sleep like I do at 64 degrees, it might be a little more in the summertime. If you like to keep your heat higher in the wintertime, then yes, it will probably be a little bit more. We are an oil and gas state. It's common to have gas in your house. The only reason why you typically wouldn't have gas in the house is there's no public gas line, which is common in some of these rural areas, okay? So you sometimes can't get regular natural gas. Sometimes you'll have propane in these areas. So when I'm saying $250 to $300 a month, we're talking about like a 2,000 square foot house that's like 10 years old or less. And then there's actual gas prices at the pump. And I know this gets really exciting for people. We have some of the lowest gas prices in the country. So knowing these things, sometimes makes it worth it for people to have like more peace of mind in terms of like where their money's going and how much they're going to have left in their pocket. You may be able to upgrade your home, live in something totally different than you might have been able to live in on the West Coast or East Coast, but I usually focus on West Coast. You may have room to breathe on your property, meaning like a little bit of space might be worth it to you. And for a lot of my clients, that is very true. This would not be worth it to you if you wanted coastal amenities. So if you want coastal amenities and you feel like, you're not going to save that much on the lifestyle, or like it's just not a good trade-off for you, then you probably should not move to Oklahoma. So money is only a part of the story. So what does life actually look like for people here in the state? For most people that I work with, the first thing they notice when they visit or when they move here is the pace of our lifestyle. We move slowly here. And sometimes I feel like I'm running and like I'm going really fast, but ultimately I can never outpace many different cultures on the West Coast that are just like go, go, go. That's just not how we're designed here in Oklahoma. You are not going to spend 2 hours in traffic to grab dinner. I mean, you would be driving a long way in order to have to spend 2 hours in traffic. Oklahomans say that we have terrible traffic here in Norman, where I live. And it yes, it can be a little bit more congested than outside of the cities. Norman's the third largest town in Oklahoma. And yes, sometimes I have to sit through a light, 2 cycles through a light in order to get through it. But that's typically the worst that it gets. So here you usually have time, like you can go on a walk after dinner. You're going to see a lot of people walking around, of course. I have friends that literally watch the sunset every single day, and I watch it a lot myself as well because we have some of the best sunsets here in Oklahoma. So the trade-off, you're not going to have the amenities that you had in California for the most part. Like there are some small towns in California, like I understand. And Oklahoma City is still a fairly large city. I mean, it's the 20th largest, I believe, in the US. But you're not going to have the same variety of entertainment, of course. You're going to have great local spots. And during the week, especially, and on many weekends, everything closes early. Like things do not stay open late here. Here in Oklahoma, life does tend to be a little bit more about connection than convenience. People will wave at you when you drive by. Wave first and they'll wave. You're probably going to know your neighbors. You go to community events and you will know a lot of people once you've lived here a while. Community events I'm talking about are like fall festivals if you're living in some of these small towns, or even not a small town like where I live in Norman, 130,000 people. I know so many people in town. It's really hard for me to go anywhere where I don't know someone. High school football games on a Friday night, common even if you don't have kids. If you're used to the constant motion of somewhere like LA or just outside of that, it's going to feel a little funky at first. But almost all my clients tell me a few things after they spent a few months in their new home here in Oklahoma. People say that they talk more, that they cook at home more, and it's easier to do so. People have more time on their hands, probably because they're spending less time in traffic. Okay, so then let's talk about the weather, because that's one of the other big questions that I get from people. And if we haven't met yet, I'm Marcie, and I am a real estate agent here in Oklahoma. I work with people just like you who are trying to relocate from places like California to Oklahoma. Usually my clients want peace, space, and a smoother, more calm pace of life. If you're watching this and you're like, I just need someone who gets what I'm trying to do, like I'm that person. I get it. I've helped a lot of people do this. You can click the link right below this video. It's the contact me page on my website. You can also just call me at this phone number. That's totally fine too. People do that all the time. And yes, I will return your call. If you want to text me, that's fine. Send me a quick note. There's no pressure. There's no spam. Like, I'm just here to help. Weather can be a bit scary at first for people. Usually my clients who move here and they're not used to the weather, they do spend a lot of time in their storm shelters that first year. And then they get the hang of it and like how often they need to go into their actual storm shelter. We do get tornadoes, and that's what you typically see on the national news, right? Yeah, we've had some really big ones here in Oklahoma. But here's a reality. Like most storms are actually just loud. They're not really life-threatening. I love the thunderstorms on the prairie. Like they're amazing. The thunder is super loud. The lightning, however close it is to you, is also going to be extremely loud. And it's just such a powerful experience of nature, right? Here's the thing about Oklahoma. We have incredible forecasting technology. We literally see these storms coming from a mile away, actually way more than a mile away. And, if you watch the news, there's, different weathermen, weather people, some of them are women, of course, that you watch, like they get so excited if there's a tornado coming that week. So be prepared. Oklahomans do take preparedness pretty seriously as well. Storm shelters are very common here. The in-ground ones will start at around $3,500. I've seen people pay like up to $10,000 for an outdoor one that's like super fancy. But usually you can get away with having one that's below 5,000, or you can buy a home that already has one. And this is a question I get a lot. People ask me how long it takes for the storm shelter to be installed. And my answer is a day, because I just saw one of my neighbors get a storm shelter put in and it took a day, which I know doesn't seem like a very long time, but that's the way it works. So spring does bring some pretty wild weather, and the rest of the year can be pretty nice. We do get 4 seasons. Summers are really hot, but they're really fun. We have a lot of daylight. It's a good time. The springs can have really nice weather, but it does get very windy, and it does rain a lot. Typically, we want it to rain a lot, actually. That's a good thing. Winters can be pretty mild. Like I've seen Christmases where I'm, wearing a t-shirt and it's 65, 70 degrees outside. My favorite, of course, is fall, and usually our falls are pretty crisp and nice. So the storms, are they manageable? Most people find them manageable, yes. Part of the trade-off is going to be the storms. So you're going to have to stay weather aware. There are different things that we do as Oklahomans, like apps that we have on our phone, channels that we watch, just getting used to like the barometer and the pressure in the air. These are really important things to us. Yes, you'll stay weather aware, and you're also going to get more space. We're going to get a slower pace of life here and way less traffic. Let's talk a little bit about where people actually land whenever they make this move. So usually people call me, they're looking at somewhere like Norman sort of first, or like as a place that's a base. Norman can almost be its own metro area, and because we have everything that you typically need, like all the doctors that you could need, grocery stores, things like that. Norman has a little bit of everything, new neighborhoods. We do have properties with land, although it's expensive to buy in Norman. It's one of the most expensive towns in Oklahoma. And then we have some older, like mid-century homes that are really cool. If you want space to breathe, I have a lot of people that look at Blanchard, Goldsby, and like Newcastle, maybe Noble, because you can get an acre out here and, be 30 minutes from Norman, maybe even closer. For really true privacy and a little bit more acreage, you sometimes need to go a little bit further south, like Washington, Dibble, Noble, again, this town called Slaughterville. I know, it's crazy. But places like that. You get bigger lots in these areas. You get way fewer restrictions, and we don't have that many restrictions to begin with. And it's that country feel that's really hard to describe if you haven't lived it before. Wherever you land, the good news is you don't have to give up modern conveniences. You're gonna have good internet. Fiber internet is mostly everywhere south of I-240. So you're gonna have that. If you get a little bit further out into the country, you may have to get some sort of satellite internet, but that's possible, and it's not as expensive as it used to be. And the internet is something that, it's easy to verify that you're gonna have some good internet before you actually purchase a home. So it's not gonna be a guessing game. So in order to make this decision, here are some questions that you may want to ask yourself to really figure out if this is the right move for you. Do you want more space mentally, physically, spiritually in your daily life? Would saving money actually change your lifestyle, or would it just be a good idea? Are you craving a different kind of community? Like a community where you know your neighbors, where you're going to see people that you know in town, and also know that you'll be starting over with relationships, which of course is really hard to do. Can you handle weird Oklahoma quirks like the wind is, I'm telling you, it blows really hard. Or maybe the summers that just like you can't go outside after 9 o'clock in the morning. When you picture the next chapter of your life, is it calmer than the previous one? So after thinking through those questions, Oklahoma, or perhaps another flyover state, is maybe where you need to be. If you're ready to dig deeper, then here's your next step. Watch this video next so you can really see what Oklahoma looks like on the ground.